Joining us now is former ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor. Ambassador, thank you for joining us. I want to start with just that headline. The president calling NATO a paper tiger. The criticism is not new from him, but the signaling of a possible withdrawal would be. What's your reaction to that escalation in rhetoric?
So, Ali, he can't pull out formally. The Congress has made that clear and kept him from doing that, kept any president from doing that. He can, of course, reduce the support that the United States provides to NATO, and that would be a problem. That would be a problem because the United States does provide the bulk of the military support for NATO. So that's a concern. However, as you say, he didn't say anything about that last night, and he's had apparently good conversations with other leaders of NATO. So like many things that we've seen charged and threatened, they tend not to happen. That may be the case this time.
You mentioned the role that Capitol Hill would have to play in him leaving that alliance. The reaction on the Hill has been swift and notably bipartisan. Republican former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell joined Democratic Senator Chris Coons for a joint statement that called NATO, quote, the most successful military alliance in history that has underpinned U.S. security for more than 70 years. You got Senator Schumer and Warner echoing that statement in their own sharply rebuked statements. So how significant is it to see that kind of unity in response as NATO allies are once again forced to question, are some of the bedrock principles that we've relied upon no longer so bedrock?
Well, they're not bedrock for this president. They're certainly bedrock for the Congress and for the American people. As you say, this has been the source. This has been the basis for our security against the Soviet Union and now against Russia. It's been supportive of Ukraine. Most people in the United States support Ukraine. So this has been, the NATO has been a big help. A big supporter, a big provider of security in this thing, and the support from Congress makes that very clear.
So we're talking on its face about the NATO alliance, but I do want to put this squarely through the lens of the ongoing war in Ukraine, because that's been a continuous strain on the NATO alliance since Trump returned to office. Seeing it fray now has big potential consequences there in that ongoing conflict, right?
Well, the NATO role in the Iran conflict is not at all clear. NATO's designed to respond to a challenge, a threat, an invasion by some nation against a NATO member nation. That's not the case here. This war in Iran is, as we've said over and over, it's a war of choice. Didn't have to happen right away. And so NATO is not necessarily involved in this, and it's not just a posse. It's not just a group of nations that come to call when one nation calls. It's a defensive alliance. That's what it's meant to do, and that's what it's been successful at succeeding.
No, not involved in Iran, certainly. But when it comes to Ukraine, I'm forced to question if we are calling the NATO alliance into question on its face, then what is the impact when you look specifically at the ongoing Ukraine war and the role that NATO plays there?
Well, NATO has played some role in Ukraine. NATO nations, Ali, have played a big role in this. And that can continue, will continue, is continuing. Indeed, NATO nations, European nations, members of NATO, are buying the weapons from U.S. firms, providing them to Ukraine. That continues. That's not a requirement. Doesn't involve the NATO piece. There's NATO coordination that's going on that's very helpful. And there are NATO organizations that are being very helpful as well. But that support from Europe to Ukraine will undoubtedly continue.
That will undoubtedly continue, and I think we're just watching the ways that this NATO alliance is reassessing where U.S. predictability on various policies actually is. We will leave it there for now. Former Ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor, I always thank you for joining us. Appreciate you.
Thank you all. Good to be here.